The Premier League is the world's most successful circus. Ridiculous things happen every week. In this video, I make 10 alternative predictions about the 2025-2026 Premier League season, from conspiracy theories to the end of set-piece coaches, and of course a complete table prediction as well. Let's get into it. Prediction number 1 concerns the freshly introduced 8-second rule for goalkeepers. This season, no longer will the 6-second rule exist, because no referee ever enforced it anyway. Instead, a new 8-second rule is being introduced. A goalkeeper can keep the ball in their hands for 8 seconds, but if they hold it for any longer, then the referee will automatically award a corner to the opposition. My first prediction of the video is that this new 8-second rule will be rigorously enforced for the first 3 or so match days, before fading to basically never being enforced before November even starts. Much like when the Premier League attempted to get strict with shirt pulling in the box, they gave about 50 penalties in the first few weeks of the season and then quietly abandoned this idea before October even started. And of course, the rule will be randomly brought back from the dead at one point during the season, let's say for 1 week during April, and it will definitely be applied to Arsenal, who will then concede a corner and concede a goal from this corner, in the end ruining their title hopes. Prediction number 2. At some point, a match between a very southern side, say Brighton or Bournemouth, and a very northern side, say Sunderland or Newcastle, will be rescheduled for TV coverage for a 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday. Supporters will be made aware of this change far too late and will doubtless have to shell out far too much money to get to the stadium on time. Here, for reference, is the cost of a return train ticket at late notice between two of these places. And that's assuming they can even do this trip in one day and don't have to stay in a hotel for at least one night, and of course not including the ticket price or food and drink, or if they end up driving, petrol prices. That's a hell of an expense to get at short notice, especially for any supporters on lower or minimum wages, as is not uncommon amongst travelling football fans. Needless to say, this is a prediction as depressingly inevitable as it is frustrating. Please, 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 can someone in charge look after the lifeblood of British football, the travelling fan? And talking of fans, if you're enjoying the video, please leave a like and please subscribe. Full disclosure, YouTube requires that you have 1,000 subs before they pay you for the views on your videos. So that ad you just watched before this video, well, all that ad money went to YouTube. I got nothing. Please just help me nudge over that 1,000 subscribers mark so I can get a small slice of that pie. Thanks so much. Prediction number 3, continuing a trend from the past few seasons, at least one more club will end up selling part of itself to itself like some sort of weird finance bro version of Mr. Potato Head. And the reason I can predict this with basically absolute confidence is that Premier League clubs had the chance to shut down this financial loophole and wholeheartedly refused to do so. Presumably because they've seen clubs like Chelsea and Aston Villa do this and thought, well, if you can't beat them, join them. So be on the lookout for some apparently very valuable women's teams, hotels and training grounds this season. Prediction number 4, carrying on from the theme of things from last season reoccurring, my money is on yet another outrageously phrased Twitter complaint from Nottingham Forest. It's sad that such a massive club, such a titan of English football, and a club recently on the ascendancy again, is putting out such rubbish of late, seemingly all at the behest of one interesting owner. My sympathies are with the actual Forest fans, who are doubtless more annoyed at their club for this stuff than anyone else. Prediction number 5 concerns a tale of 2 World Cups. The Club World Cup we've just had and the actual World Cup we're having in a year's time. And in principle, this is a prediction that extends beyond the Premier League to include all European clubs who played in the Club World Cup. Well, at least those who managed to get out of the group stage, looking at you, Salzburg. I predict that for the Club World Cup teams, this extra set of fixtures will weigh heavily on their domestic seasons. We may see a small initial boost for teams like Chelsea and Man City if, and this is a big if, the Club World Cup acts as a good pre-season for these teams. But given that both teams went on an extended break straight after the Club World Cup before they then started playing pre-season friendlies again, it feels to me that the Club World Cup is much more of a tiring post-season, eating into rest time, than a helpful start to pre-season. Consequently, I think we'll see a very tired Chelsea and Man City teams with a couple of players of both teams succumbing to fatigue and injuries throughout the season. On a similar note, I predict that towards the end of the season, any player with a chance of making a World Cup squad, which in the Premier League is a lot of players, will start to slowly reduce their effort. They'll run less, stretch for just out of reach balls a bit less, and back out of more 50-50s as their eyes turn towards making sure they are fit and healthy for the World Cup. This may well negatively affect the biggest clubs most, as they're the ones with the most players heading out to the World Cup. So my overall prediction here is for a season feeling the effects of being sandwiched between 2 World Cups. A slower, more tired and less energetic energetic season than we are used to, and one that as a result might see some big clubs slip up. Prediction number 6 concerns the newly introduced TV coverage innovations. Cameras coming onto the pitch to film celebrations, cameras in the dressing rooms, and interviews of players who've just been subbed off. All that is coming in this season. I'm predicting that these new innovations will be massive flops. The cameras coming onto the pitch are perhaps the least offensive of these 3 new innovations. But will this really give us anything more exciting than a camera with a good zoom? Or a player coming to the touchline to celebrate with a camera? I don't think so. And that's without mentioning the many times players clearly don't want cameras shoved in their faces. But with my more cynical hat on, that sort of frustrated reaction from players might actually be what the TV companies want. Cameras in dressing rooms seem potentially exciting, if a bit intrusive, until you find out they can't show any managerial team talks. They've signed a contract that doesn't allow it. So then you've got to ask, well, who cares about anything else? A couple of shots of Jack Grealish doing his hair in the mirror, and then as soon as Pep walks in and starts talking, the camera's cut? That's boring. Finally, interviewing subs as they come off the pitch. Players are already so PR trained that their interviews are essentially non-events, with one massive chippy chip exception. So what makes anyone think asking a player anything as they come off the pitch is any different? Nothing's different except for perhaps some more breaths in between their answers, and potentially the player being very pissed off at being substituted, and then even more pissed off at having a camera shoved in their face, and offering a few words that will have to be apologized for by the commentator as a result. I therefore predict that all of these innovations will be flops. Prediction 7 is a bit of a swing from me, but I think I might be right. I think this is the season the meteoric rise of the set-piece coach starts to crumble. We've all been aware in recent years of the increasing prominence of the set-piece coach, with many of them literally putting themselves front and center of the touchline anytime the referee blows the whistle to stop playing. I mean, the fact that at least half of you will know who this person is evidence enough of that already. But I think this is the year that prominence starts to fade. I think this is so for 3 reasons. First, professional jealousy and vanity. Come on, managers are all egomaniacs at heart, and they must be getting pretty tired of these set-piece coaches getting all the attention. Second, there have been some pretty high-profile occasions last season where set-piece coaches have been ignored, and I think that natural flair of footballers will start to see set-piece micromanagement sidelined in favour of footballers trusting their own instincts. Third, and finally, I think there might be quite a high-profile case of a set-piece coach or an ex-set-piece coach doing quite poorly this year. Brentford's new manager, Keith Andrews, was their set-piece coach last season, and while I won't pretend to know a significant amount about his coaching prowess, he has been dealt a very difficult hand with some of the key players Brentford have sold this summer. I suspect Brentford will suffer, and thus so too will the reputations of set-piece coaches. Sorry, Nicholas. This little drive-by on Brentford gives me the opportunity to provide you with a bonus prediction. Here, very briefly, is my prediction for the table next year. Bottom 3, last place, Burnley. Sorry, I don't think the squad's good enough, and now the keeper's gone as well, I'm not backing the defence to repeat their championship heroics. Leeds in 19th, they'll bloody a few noses I'm sure, but ultimately I don't think they're good enough to stay up. And in 18th, it's Brentford. Sorry Brentford, you can't keep selling your best players and lose your manager and get away with it. For the sides I think might flirt with relegation, I start in 17th with Sunderland. They have an interesting young squad and they've added some experienced battlers. I think if a promoted side does it, then it will be them. In 16th, it's West Ham. I just don't think Potter and West Ham are a good mix. Wolves in 15th, as they've lost key players Kuna and Ait-Nouri. Forest have done well to keep hold of Gibbs White, but they've lost other good players and now have European commitments to juggle, so I think they may struggle a bit and will end up in 14th. Up into mid-table, by which I mean not really being scared of relegation, but also not bothering Europe, Fulham are fine in 13th. Nothing amazing, but nothing awful. In 12th, Everton seem to have turned a corner. I'd back Moyes in a new stadium to get them safely into mid-table. In 11th, I have Bournemouth, who've lost a fair few key players, and may yet lose more, but their pressing style makes individual player loss slightly less important, in my view, at least. Challenging for Europe, I have Man United in 10th. Look, they're still missing a few players, but Amorim has had some time now, they've made a few good signings, and they don't have to worry about Europe anymore. In 19th, I really rate Palace and Glasner in particular, but they have European commitments, at least of some description. They're very much not used to these European commitments, so they might struggle to juggle that, and of course if Eze goes, I drop them down the table a few more places. Villa and Emery are superb, but they have European commitments to juggle and a seeming inability to sign anyone thanks to FFP and PSR, so I have them in 8th. For the minor European spots, I have Chelsea in 7th and Brighton in 6th. Despite all evidence to the contrary, I just don't believe in Maresca or particularly rate that Chelsea Chelsea squad, with a few obvious exceptions. I think Brighton without European commitments are quite an exciting prospect, and they're my pick to really surprise some people this year. Up into the Champions League spots, assuming the Prem gets the 5th spot again, I have Spurs in 5th. I really rate Thomas Frank, and Spurs are building a quietly decent squad. And yes, I'm aware they've got Europe to contend with and that it's slightly hypocritical to have them so high when I think Europe will hurt so many other teams, but you know what, sue me. In 4th, I have Newcastle, who are just a solidly good team under Eddie Howe, with Isaac taking them to new levels. Though obviously this is massively caveated that if Isaac does go, as is looking likely at the moment, you can knock them down to finishing probably around 7th or 8th. I have Arsenal in 3rd, but I think this is a genuine toss-up with City in 2nd. Arsenal have recruited really well, but City are City and always imperious, and the fact that they had a bad season last year and still ended up only 3 points behind Arsenal is a very scary prospect. And winning the whole thing, I, like everyone else, have Liverpool. They've made some absurdly good signings on top of an already great squad. And if they get Isaac, well then the rest of the league might as well give up already. So there you go. That's my predictions, all offered incredibly quickly. 2 quick points here. First, I'm recording this on the 6th of August. So if any insane transfer moves are made after this date, then obviously I couldn't factor that in. And second, please be nice. It's just a bit of fun. I don't hate your club. I'm just making a fun prediction. Instead, do let me know in the comments your own predictions. Then when the season finishes, I'll do a video and shout out the best and worst, as well as take the piss out of my own predictions. Anyway, back to the more alternative predictions. Here's a depressing one for you, my 8th prediction if you're still counting. Some miserable parasite will attempt to get engagement on Twitter or some other social media site as soon as something tragic happens this season, be that a prominent death, illness or injury. Miserable, but inevitable stuff. The 9th prediction is a more positive one. I think the very recently passed Football Regulator Bill is a good thing for English football. While we may not immediately feel its benefit next season, its very passing is an important step in safeguarding English clubs. It should protect clubs from dodgy owners and get fans properly involved in the running of their clubs. Something the Premier League, for all of its incredible success, has clearly struggled to do. By the way, if you want a video explaining this bill in more depth, please do let me know. It's the sort of thing I would like to do and think I can do quite well. But after my last moderately complicated video on financial fair play flopped massively, I would be worried that no one would bother watching this one. So if you really want it, please let me know in the comments. And my final prediction of the video is that fans of absurdly massive clubs, you all know the ones I'm talking about, will all somehow come to individually believe that there is an actual conspiracy against them by referees or, open quote marks, the media, despite the fact that these clubs are absolutely massive and therefore vital to the financial success of both the league that these referees with their alleged conspiracy have jobs in and the TV, radio and newspapers that cover these leagues. The success of these clubs that are supposedly conspiratorially everyone is against is vital for the people who are supposed to be conspiring against them. And yet, fans will still convince themselves that there is a conspiracy at some level against their clubs. Madness. And obviously, the actual obvious truth is that the refs and media have a clear vendetta against my team, the mighty. And that's my 10 alternative predictions, plus my actual predictions for the 2025-2026 Premier League season. Do you agree? Disagree? Have your own predictions? Let me know what they are in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like and subscribe. Here's some other videos to watch next. Thanks for watching.